Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to some more Osu Mania 4 Key World Cup 2025 action. We've got our top three finishers lined up and ready to go. Our podium finishers, South Korea, China, and the United States, ready to go for next week. We've just got one more thing left to handle before we give it off to the players for next weekend, and that's going to be our Grand Finals Mappool Showcase, and that's what we're going to be showing you right here. I'll be one of your commentators, Toph Daddy, joined here by head map selector Mint. How's it going?
Hello. I'm really excited about this pool. This one's a really special one. Has a special place in my heart, particularly. I can't wait to show it off because we have some really unique and interesting things going on in this Grand Finals map pool. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the difficulty by itself, I think, is going to be a little bit of a surprise. Last year's was pretty difficult, but there's some big surprises as far as like just how hard we're going to try to make this pool here, and you'll see that pretty early on, I think.
For sure, yeah. I think even the first few maps, it'll be pretty evident how difficult this is going to end up.
I don't think there's too much to say other than that, though. If you want to get us started here,
yeah, we can get started. We can get started with a little flames up in here. So let's just roll it. And that was Impulsive Wave by Luz. This was a very interesting OC original. Like, starting off with an OC original is already kind of crazy enough, but this BPM, 390, and I'm sure you noticed, it gets faster than that even. Like, the difficulty of this is absolutely absurd, and those speed ups in the streams are absolutely non-trivial. Of course, it's the original. Let's run through some design credits. Huge shout outs to you guys on the design team. Pineapple for the illustration, Mocha and Ioka for graphic design, Red CXCA and Panthulu for design quality assurance, and Sakura 006 for video and design coordination. Thank you all so much for your work, and thank you, Luz, for the amazing original song.
Yeah, absolutely. Really wonderful things to all of them. You were talking about how the difficulty of the streams in that map, and I kind of wanted to transition back into it just to give an idea. You said 390 BPM, but I think it was pretty clear that some of those bursts do get a lot faster than that, and if you were paying attention to some of the notes, it was not consistent rhythmically. There's a few changes in rhythms even through some of those longer streams, and I think just in general it's going to be really hard to hold on to a map like this for the whole period of time. Even if it's just 2 minutes and 43 seconds, that's still quite a long time to deal with that.
Absolutely, and I'm sure those of you who've been around for a while watching MWC will notice that this is like a kind of, in a way, spiritual successor to Love Song, which was also charted by Valedict. This was featured in Grand Finals MWC in, I think, 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that. It's one of those years.
Yeah, one of those.
all of these Grand Finals map pools get blurred together for me, so.
For sure, yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, with that being said, that's Rice 1. We can move on to Rice 2.
And a classic, we got our fast jump stream pick. It's going to be Himaringo Yatsuya-san ni Yoroshiku. I'm okay. Mapped by Miari Chezu on 1.35x, and that BPM is a little scary. Almost 300 BPM for the speedy jump stream pick. Don't let star ratings fool you on something like this when the speed is that high.
Yeah, this is a pretty classic song for those of you who play Osu Standard. Pretty popular song there. 297 BPM, 1.35 up rate. This is really dense and really brutal. A lot of anchors and trills, as you will immediately notice. Even in the break sections, we got these really long anchors, which makes this map kind of, I wouldn't say a stamina test because that's Rice 3, but it definitely contributes to, like, I guess you want more of a consistency thing for sure, like where you want to kind of maintain that composure throughout the map, but it's definitely very easy to slip up when you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where when there's one-hand trills like this, I mean, the longest they last is 4 notes, right? But when you have one-hand trills like that, it changes the motion of how you're playing the map. I know that when you're, especially when I'm playing jump stream, I know that when the patterns are a little more comfortable, less focused on the one-hand trills, I know my hands are able to last longer because I can kind of work my way through them. They're more cheesable than one-hand trills are. And then the anchors just add an extra layer of, you know, stamina draining and difficulty of just coordination on the pattern by itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the map is very short, luckily, so players do not have to suffer through 297 BPM jump stream for that long. But with that being said, it is still fairly difficult, and I would see people probably having a hard time, like, coming to the fact that they would have to probably, if they want to pick a jump stream map, they would probably have to go for this instead of Rice 3.
Yeah,
our stamina pick.
Y'all are not ready for this, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just get into it. Saitama Saistyo Heiki Fuga. This is a collab, I believe, between Hylatl and Lemon Guy. And we talked about those two mappers last round because they were the duo that did the Rice 2 and Rice 3 from last round. This time, joining hands and creating the Rice 3 this time. And if you know anything about both of these two, the patterns that they make, it's gonna be a little brutal. Maybe the hardest map in the pool? Question mark?
I think it's the hardest map in the pool, but the score definitely doesn't communicate that very well. And just real quick, I forgot to mention that the previous map was collab with Fuda. Anyways, it's funny how these two maps, both the jump stream and the standard map, are collab. There's a lot of kind of like diversity in in that sense with the jump stream, but I will say that honestly, like, this map right here, like, it doesn't really feel like a collab. It just feels like non-stop, this sort of like 1/4 anchory and then like 1/5 like dump stream every so often. A lot of 1/3 mini jacks as well. It's just the kind of style that you're probably used to by now with the past few Lemon Guy maps. But yeah, now high levels here too.
Yeah, you know, we're so used to having stamina picks that are primarily focused on jump stream, and that's not necessarily untrue for this pick, but there is certainly a large variety of types of patterns. You're going to get technical patterns, you can get jack-type patterns, and like you said, we've got some jump streams in the middle of it as well, despite most of the chart like centering around that jump stream and one-hand drill focus that we see from High Lotto and Lemon Guy a lot.
Absolutely, and I mean, with that being, there isn't really much else to say about the chart itself, because I think it just really goes to show like this sort of intense sort of level of patterning. It's not just jump stream. You're handling like jump stream, and on top of that, you have to transition in and out of like mini jack glut patterns. Like they're light for sure, but they definitely contribute to that stamina factor where you're like, oh, this is so tiring. I need to be done with it. That's really how this map feels basically the entire time. But it's really fun. Honestly.
Yeah, and this like, solo comes around and you see some of those glut patterns and the dump streams start to hit with like staircasey type patterns in the middle of all of this. And unlike most other stamina maps that we've had, we're 3/4 of the way through this and we haven't had any kind of break. Like there's no time to catch your breath anywhere. And you know, it's 3.5 minutes, so it's not as long. And hand stream. But it's 3.5 minutes, so it's not as long as what we would normally expect from a stamina pick. But like I said, the lack of a break.
Long enough for Grand Finals players to probably get a little tired after maybe like the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
The structure, the lack of breaks, the variety of patterns are all going to contribute to the stamina just draining from players, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's just, it's absolutely relentless. I know I say that word a lot in these showcases, but this, I feel like it really applies here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we can say that about pretty much everything in this pool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think this one especially for sure.
Yeah, we said probably hardest pick of the pool, which we'll see how it goes. I think people are going to score well on
map at the very least.
Certainly, but I do think that it's weirdly, despite it probably being the hardest, it's probably going to get some of the best scores just because of how good these players are.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of good scores, let's get into Core Jack.
Yeah, best scores in the whole world here.
This is Reverse cut version by Alexar. This is a 160 BPM. You'll notice that it's significantly lower than previous Grand Finals Core Jack maps. You'll see why in just a second.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what to expect from this. I was fully under the impression that we were going to be hitting like 175 this year for Core Jacks. We see some extended jacks, but I imagine we're not seeing the bulk of this chart yet. And 3 minutes long. A little bit of a slow start, but still, that is worth noting about the length of this map.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely ridiculous. This map, I just don't even know how to describe it. It's like, it feels like you're playing like a vocal dump in Core Jack somehow. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but like that's just like the way that your hand motions you have to constantly focus on like hand rotation, hand movement, all that sort of stuff. It's not necessarily the densest kind of Core Jack, but it's ridiculously difficult to control. I think that's the main really getaway or takeaway, sorry, for this map.
Yeah, the patterning really needs to be paid attention to. You'll see in a lot of Core Jack maps, there's kind of an avoidance, like especially in the mainstream Core Stream space, you'll see an avoidance of like longer longer held anchors, even in like Jack triangles like this. But Elixir, I know, is one of those Jack mappers that will just put a 4 or 5 note anchor in the middle of a huge burst of really dense Jacks. And we're seeing a lot of that so far, on top of some of the kind of intrusive burst with some, like you said, some of that vocal dumping that exists throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just watching the mesmerizing like chords, it's just absolutely absurd to imagine that we're gonna probably see some insanely good scores on this during the matches. And honestly, I can see this being protected by some
Protected, I'd be interested to see if a Protect comes out for this. As far as these 3 teams that made it, I don't think any of them are particularly interested in looking towards the Korjak. I mean, the Korjak pick this round, I think, was almost fully ignored. I think it might have been played 1 match. And
we need to fact check that.
Would need to, but I don't think it was picked very much this weekend.
But yeah, I mean, like, this map is just completely relentless throughout the entire thing. I mean, again, 160 BPM is more than you would expect for Grand Finals, but hasn't the entire Korjak like slot for this entire year felt a little on the slow, at least on the tail end, right? Like, it felt a little
a little bit slower of a curve than I think most people were expecting. It certainly started off hot and then slowed down a little bit compared to, I think, people's
like round of
expectations.
16 was 148. This is not far off. It's just significantly, like, the density has really been what we've mostly focused on in terms of picking exactly like what Korjak songs to use. And I think the curve itself, I think, turned out really well, and I think this map definitely is a culmination of that.
Just have to see how it goes in Grand Finals, see what these players are up to. But those are going to be our more straightforward Rice picks. We've got the second half of our Rice pool coming up, which includes our tech picks starting off. Autotelk Brown starting us off with Pretzels by Tomato Cat.
Yeah, so Matchcore is back. This is pretty interesting. 280 BPM, a lot of sort of like light jump stream burst kind of things with mini jacks. So if you missed those, then here they are.
280 BPM, by the way.
Yeah, 280 BPM mini jacks.
So they're a little fast. But I think looking at what we've seen so far, like, the density of this is not super high. We see a couple of high density bursts of that jump stream and broken jump stream like we saw just there. But I think a lot of the difficulty of this is going to come down to, 1, the broken nature of it, but 2, I think more importantly, is going between those like brutally fast mini jacks back into that 280 BPM jump stream. It's going to be very difficult to transition your hand from trying to do the fast jump stream motions versus just the mini jacks, which almost feel like you kind of have to twitch your fingers a little bit. It's a little bit of an awkward motion.
Sure, yeah. Like 280 is in that range where it definitely feels like that for sure. And like, I would honestly say like the mini jacks are pretty hard, sure, but they're fairly isolated. Like they're not like embedded in like super tricky patterns. You can see the mini jacks. They're clearly marked, I guess. In this map.
It reminds me a little bit of Obligatory, another map by Autotelk Brown. It kind of has the same structure, just a lot denser and a lot more constant, I think, than what we saw from Obligatory.
Yeah. I think Autotelk's style definitely shows itself in this map for sure. And there's a lot of maps that you could point to from Autotelk that kind of resemble this, in my opinion. But yeah. And also, this is a fairly long one, 3 minutes 21. Like, nothing to scoff at for sure. Like,
continuing the trend of having quite long maps in these early, in the Rice pool, just in general. I think that's just like increasing the difficulty. You're going to get longer maps. I think that's just how it goes. And as a result, stamina starts to become an issue. Period. Like, we have a stamina pick, but there's more to it, especially when you're talking about like match functions, when you have players playing upwards of 12 to 13 maps all in a row.
Absolutely, not even to mention bracket reset if that happens. Like, that would be like more, like twice as long for the players, which would be I don't know if
Yeah, fatigue
I
is
don't envy
definitely
those players.
fatigue is on the table in a pool like this with how long the maps are starting to get.
Yeah, and I would say like the maps definitely like it's not just the rice maps that are on the long side. I think the pool overall you'll notice is on the long side. It's like it's pretty noticeable in my opinion, and like you definitely want to be in your best shape on match day for sure.
Absolutely, but with that being said, we're coming up to the end of this chart. Despite being three minutes, 4,000 combo, not too high of a combo. I mean, obviously it's a lot of nodes, but a little bit less than you might expect. Just, I think the separation of some of the nodes kind of adds to that, but one way or another, not a walk in the park. A little bit on the long side, holds onto the density, and those 280 BPM mini jacks are going to be run killers, I think, all weekend.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, that was our one of our tech picks at least. Now we're getting into the little vocal dump pick. We got ourselves a little more VTubers
More
for those of you who love VTubers. It's just so we say this time, Soiree, mapped by Darkstar, aka 0DZ0, aka DZ. And
the usual suspect.
Yeah.
But we're starting off, like you said, this is the vocal dump map. We're seeing some of those vocal dump patterns come through. Not as dense, I think, as it's going to end up getting, especially once we hit the choruses.
Yeah, absolutely. The choruses are super, super dense, and it gets really... It ramps up in difficulty really, really fast. But we're in the calmer section right now. We're kind of just getting the feel of, I guess, the sort of flavor that we're going to get later on.
Yeah, I was gonna say you get a little taste of what we're gonna see later on. So we're on the same page there. But you know, we've been talking about length of these maps, and this one even longer than the previous, 3 minutes and 46 seconds. So you're not getting away from that length at all.
Yeah, I mean this map it's really long, and honestly, like definitely like one of those like consistency sort of feel like to them, because like honestly I'm a little bit lower on the physical side. But it is still ridiculously hard, especially to manage to fully, like, fully immerse yourself.
Nice one-hand trill there.
Yes, the one-hand trill there.
Was that 350 BPM one-hand trill?
I don't think so. I didn't write that down.
It's like 280 or something. It's
Probably.
really fast.
It's really fast, for sure.
One way or another, we're back into a little bit of a break section. We've still got some awkward patterns in the burst to deal with, but if you can make it through those choruses, these should be no problem and might actually act as a little bit of a stamina builder.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're back into another chorus section, and it just gets... it feels denser probably because we've been playing for a long time at this point. But
yeah, and you're only halfway through.
Yeah. There's a third chorus coming up later as well.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed with a third of the map remaining, but we're gonna see pretty much the same kind of stuff. These patterns here are actually a little bit more on the comfortable side as we get out of this second chorus. Just a little more constant burst, longer bursts, but easier patterns. I think makes sense when it comes to these kinds of vocal dumps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, it's just... We're in the real break section now. Like, the previous breaks were, like, just verses, like, sprinkles of stuff. But now we really get into the... This is where you can really, like, wash your hands. Well, not figuratively. Of kind of the stamina that you've sort of built up. To get into the third chorus as fresh as you can.
Yeah, something we haven't necessarily been talking about so much is that, you know, we have the difficult burst patterns and dumpy patterns in general, but every now and again you do get some of those, like, very either implied mini jacks or actual mini jacks at a very high BPM, and those can definitely cause some issues with trying to keep the flow of this map within grasp for the players, especially with how long it is.
Absolutely. I mean, the map, it's coming to a close, but I mean, it really took us a while to get to this point, for sure. And with that being said, That was our Rice 6. That was our dump pick. And now we're going to get into our Rice 7. It's sort of a tech wild card. I'd say it's more on the Jackie side for sure. This is Backbeat Revenge by Disguise and Alexis, a collab 1.1. This is a new song, so for those of you who are Camellia fans, big Camellia fans out there, this is in the new album, I believe, the Chimera Dragon is called. I don't want to get that wrong, actually.
Return to Camellia.
Yes, we're back to Camellia.
Alexei are a big fan of Camellia this round, I guess.
Yeah.
Mapping two of them in the Rice pool, and this one, wow. Okay, those are
this
are
is
really awkward patterns.
What you'll expect for this map. This is kind of our silly Jack pick, like Jack Tech pick, rather.
Silly Jack pick. I mean, these are pretty silly. I don't think the players will pick that next weekend or while they're practicing. Those patterns, triple jacks, kind of repeating over and over seems to be the motif that comes around for a map like this. And honestly, this kind of, in a way, reflects a little bit of that chord jack structure, a little bit less dense as far as chord jacks go, plus a lot more of a focus on like the technical bursts and everything in between it, but still has that like chord jack motion to it almost.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the sort of like rotation of the chord jacks we saw earlier. We're getting these short mini jacks here, which are pretty tricky. I think they're like 1/8 or 1/6. I'm not really sure, but they're really fast, so you don't have to watch out for those.
Yeah, and length of maps continues to be quite high. This one's the shortest of our tech picks so far, but still 2 minutes and 44 seconds, so you still have a little bit of a long map to deal with, especially with the chord jacky structure of it, though I think a lot of players are going to be comfortable with that, though these 4-note jacks might just beg to differ because those look really awkward to get right, and repetitive patterns coming around here, very focused on that right hand, now moving to the left hand, and this is going to be mind block central, I think. If a mind block happens, it's going to be in this section.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Like the 4-note long jacks going into the chord, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Oh, we got some longer long jacks here. What's up?
Oh, I don't like that transition. That looks really tough. Going from the 2-4 to the 2-3 on that long jack is going to be extremely difficult. Not to mention, it's 2-hand jacks. It's not like you're just chord jacking one hand when you have some of those long jacks. You have to do it on both hands, and that is so difficult to coordinate properly, especially in the middle of everything going on in this map.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely ridiculous. With that, we got Rice 7 done, and now we are going into Rice 8. This is going to be our heavy tech pick, as if these maps weren't heavy enough already. This is the ever-increasing death toll of Birds in My Life, 1.15 by Pizza69. For those of you who recognize this map, not sorry.
The classic FFR core.
Absolutely, and this has been kind of circulating around, I guess, like for the past maybe 3 years. We've been talking about using this, and here it is. There you go. We're using it. You're welcome. Yeah, you'll notice right off the bat, kind of like very bursty. A lot of sort of not truly mini jack heavy, like.
It's heavy tech. It's heavy tech.
There's jump truly burst. There's all sorts of absolutely.
I think heavy tech is the right way to kind of describe this.
For sure, yeah.
You got some longer jacks there. Like you said, the jump truly burst as well, which is a staple of that FFR4. I think if you've seen an FFR4 map, or anything by Pizza, you'll recognize the style that this is done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is just absolutely... These patterns are absurd, but it gets even more difficult in the second half of the chart. You'll know right away. This chart gets completely, like, I don't know what expression to use, but like it just completely goes off the table.
Off the rails?
Off the rails,
yeah. Yeah, something else, again, I've been mentioning this a lot, but 2 minutes 53 seconds on the length counter. You get a little break here, but that needs to be noted. Shortest tech pick in this pool, 2 minutes 45 seconds. Shortest Rice pick is Rice 2 at 2 minutes, and everything else is quite long in this Rice pool, so stamina beware.
Yeah, it's just a relentless second half for sure. It just gets even denser here. Even more mini jacks, even more burst, even more whatever. You name it, it's here. It's completely off the rails, as you said. The split trill there with some interesting mini jack transitions, of course. It's just, what else is there to say, really? I mean, it just keeps going.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And this, like you said, the second half gets extremely brutal. No kind of stops in the motion on top of some really fast bursts. I mean, 216 BPM. I imagine those get to the equivalent of about 430 BPM bursts, and that's no joke when you're having to deal with the mini jack structure of a heavy tech pick like this in the middle of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And the map's closing out, but you know, that pretty much sums up the chart here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly 3,000 notes.
Just brutal.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, with that out of the way, that's Rice 8. We're done with Rice. So those of you who are looking forward to the second half of the map pool, here you go. We got our hybrid one, and we got something a little special for you. Here you go. Yeah, and that was Orphic by Rower. This was an interesting one. Hybrid one. This is a sequel to Intuit, as was mentioned earlier. Intuit was an original that Rower made for, I believe, Vietnamese Mania, National Mania Cup 2024. And I mean, we were like, that song is amazing. We gotta get something like that. And so we asked Rower. We're like, yo, what's up? And we got this. So thank you. Shout out to Rower. Design team shout outs, big shout outs to Crabtown for graphic design, Mokasan for graphic design and video, Panthulu and Len Lichu for design quality assurance, and Sakura006, as always, for video and design coordination. Thank you all so much, and thank you, Roar, for this song. This is amazing, absolutely amazing. As you can see, the map is a little ridiculous. It's kind of like, imagine if Light Left Behind was faster and a little more silly.
Silly is just the word of the day for you, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think that'll be a trend for hybrids and LNs, as we'll see today.
I don't think the players are going to agree with you on that one, though. So, 300 BPM is
300 BPM is a huge step up from previous years. Absolutely. And the pattern was toned down to accommodate for that. But, like, even then, like,
well, I'm even thinking about this tournament. I mean, finals hybrid 1 was 273.
Yeah, it's
which was a jump. It was a jump from 250. So like the scaling on this hybrid 1 has been pushing it a lot.
Absolutely, but
unironically faster than Rise 2.
It is, which is kind of hilarious to think about, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, like, you have to get to 300 somehow. I mean, if it wasn't gonna be Rise 2, it was gonna be this, I guess.
Absolutely, it was, but not much left to say. We can move on to our next hybrid 2.
Absolutely, I'm really excited about this one. This is Polybius by GZ Dongsheng, U East, and Rick, and myself. This is a 4-way collab. This is... I don't really know how to introduce this one, honestly. We're using the whole map. This is 4 minutes of Hybrid 2 action.
Yeah, getting into the more technical stuff. Hybrid 1, obviously, usually going to be more of our straightforward hybrid. This one's going to start getting more into the wild party, techie type patterns, and we already see some shields coming out. Maybe not the most difficult shield patterns compared to what we've seen already in previous rounds, but of course, just the intro to this is not going to be very definitive of what we will see later.
Absolutely, and I think even this first section is going to be on the easier side. We're not really getting into the meat of the chart yet. We're really just warming up to the sort of shieldy patterns that we're going to be seeing later on. But here we're going to build up to some, like, polyrhythmic jump here. This part, now we're getting into some like light jacks, and this is where it really starts. This is where the shields come in. And these shields are fairly tricky, but honestly, kind of comfortable as long as you're not sharpshooting for accuracy, which I know the players in this tournament are going to be doing.
Yeah, on the bright side, none of these shields so far are with another LN held down on the same hand. So it's a little more comfortable than you might immediately expect, but still, 198 BPM shields are going to be certainly a place where chokes, I think, can happen. If we're going to talk about like where mistakes are going to happen, that's the first point that I think I would expect them in any of the matches.
Yeah, and we're getting into this sort of like long jack jump section here. This is kind of similar to the Shadows of Cat section, but I think it's more distributed in the columns for sure. So you're going to be seeing it kind of go all over the place instead of like focusing on one column. So a
little easier to stay consistent on long jacks like that compared to Shadow of Cats, where they're all on one hand and there's breaks between each one. This one certainly more friendly to the players, even if they're a little faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're building up into the main drop, which is going to be some of the hardest patterns in the map. And I think the back half also introduces some really difficult rice patterns, but we'll just gotta stay tuned for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one of these transition sections with the kind of, I don't want to say dumpy, but stream-based LN patterns, and a similar section to what we saw before, a little bit more intense, a lot denser on the long notes, but still has those classic shields we saw from the first half of the chart.
Yeah, it introduces 3-note jacks and some dumps as well. But yeah, I mean, this section, it kind of mellows out around here, and then we're gonna get straight into back into another section like this, but we're gonna get right into the rice ending, which is completely ridiculous, I think. Right here.
Yeah, 198 BPM glut patterning, not too heavy on the mini jacks, but super, super dense and has those really fast bursts in the middle of it. You said it, a very brutal Rice ending here. At the very least, don't have to deal with the long notes for the most part in the middle of them. Mostly short, mostly easy to get good accuracy on, but that is just going to be a physicality nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this part where we're getting a reintroduction of previous sections, but then we're gonna just jump straight back into more, I guess, like speed core dump kind of mini jack, 5-note jack right there, and then we're gonna close off with a series of light jacks, and that's Polybius.
Light is a funny way to describe that.
Yeah. All right, and yeah, that was Hybrid 2. We're only halfway done with the hybrids, and it's been a long time. So Hybrid 3, we're gonna get into Hybrid 3. It's a Fola map, Catastrophe. This one is is rather interesting, I would say. Definitely a huge step up from Spider Tank from last round. I don't really know what else to. It's more mini jacky for sure, but like kind of unavoidable with it at 180 BPM. But the flams and just kind of like the rolls, the LN rolls, is really, really tricky. It's sort of like coordinating these sorts of Hybrid 3 patterns. What you'd expect from Fola at this point, and from Hybrid 3 in general.
Yeah, absolutely. You see the flammy structure of the LNs kind of has that dumpy nature to it, like we see from a lot of the Braxos charts, especially from Spider Tank in the last round. And that comparison becomes extremely apt once you get into this section where the speed of the burst increases and more long notes start to show up. A kind of nightmare to coordinate in a way, just because there's I don't know how many jumps there are in this, but they're pretty few and far between in general. Getting the good accuracy on this is a little helped by OD7, but with just how difficult and fast these patterns are, good luck keeping yourself consistent on something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. These patterns are just again. I've been saying this a lot. It's absolutely relentless. This sort of patterning. Hybrid 3, you kind of expect that at this point, but you know, it's still kind of does me surprised personally. Every single time I see one of these, it's just like, how are these players supposed to even play through these? But you know, they always somehow manage.
They find a way. We saw triple full combos on finals maps this round, which doesn't make any sense in my head. And I really hope, if you see a triple full combo from any team on this map specifically, I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's going to be something. Sure. And maybe it's a freak out. I don't know. Who knows? But this is just ridiculous. And you don't get the middle section in this one like you did on Spider Tank. You know, Spider Tank had those awkward patterns in the break, but it was still lower physicality. You just don't get that here.
Yeah,
at least for the first three quarters.
Once you start it, it keeps going until you hit this sort of break section.
But that's it. A lot of the meat of the chart is through at this point. So the difficulty that kind of comes with those patterns, and unless you're Nyasun fanboy who found a miss in the break anyways for that replay.
Yeah.
But one way or another, most of the difficulty of the chart is over at this point. You can see most of the points kind of gone. A couple of things that you have to pay attention to, some light shields, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And as this map is closing out, I mean, it's Hybrid 3. You already kind of know what to expect there. But yeah, there you go. That was Catastrophe, map by Fola. And now we're going to get into Hybrid 4. This is not a custom, but you'll recognize it. Terabyte. This is 1.1. This was mapped for Speed of Light 3 quarterfinals as a tiebreaker. We're using the short version of 1.1 here. This is going to be our Hybrid 4. 231 BPM. We're going to see some mini jacks, 3-note jacks at that tempo. But it's not going to be the main focus of the chart, in my opinion. It's going to be a lot of like sort of like dumpy sort of things. Some shields, like mini jack shields, like in the LNs in the second half as well. So that's kind of just a big summary. It is, I would say, just probably like a little lighter than Illegal Legacy and then higher BPM by substantially.
Yeah, you're already seeing some of that higher BPM come into play. Even in the slower section here at the start, you're seeing those trills at 231 BPM, and that brings you 231 BPM mini jacks, and that's not very comfortable even in the low density sections. Something else that I think people are going to be looking at and cheering for once, a 2.5 minute chart. So a little bit shorter, a little bit more friendly on the stamina, and like you said, with the lower density, it might even help a little bit more with that, though. These patterns, no joke, like you said, triple jacks and a lot of shields that are just no fun to get right and be consistent on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, each of these sections are fairly different. We have this sort of like dumpy section here with embedded mini jacks. We're gonna have a Lacrimetro right here at 231 BPM, something around the same as Lacrimetro.
That's about the same. It's a pure Lacrimetro.
And here are the shields that I was talking about earlier, with the shields and the LN. It gets pretty difficult at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of has, you mentioned, obviously this is the successor in this map pooling structure to Illegal Legacy. Kind of has a similar structure where it's largely focused on the technical patterns at the beginning with some intrusive LNs, but then it has like its own LN and shield section, and then kind of just finish up off the chart here with some very fast tech and a couple of LN bursts, but nothing too crazy on the LN side. It literally has the same kind of structure. But so if you're comfortable with Illegal Legacy structure and can handle the physicality of this, it'll be a very comfortable pick. Which I think that's going to lead to quite a few picks of this map, because Illegal Legacy was pretty popular last round.
For sure, yeah. I think this is definitely going to be less picked, I think, than Illegal Legacy, just based on the higher BPM. But I mean, we have faster mini jacks in the rice pool, so I mean, it's nothing to.
Yeah, they can deal with it, right?
231 is fine. Yeah. With that being said, that is all of our hybrids. Let's just go straight into LN1 as our coordination pick. Fuzzy Future by High Lottle. This one's an interesting one. It's 4 minutes, so we got a real long one.
Map number 1 in this pool is not an original like the other two pools were. Can't believe it. It's Fuzzy Future, like you said, Yukianu X Asana by High Lottle. This is going to be your timing hell, I think is what we call it at this point. It's
definitely a timing hell.
It's definitely a timing hell. It's interesting to see like the way that timing hell has evolved with this becoming very much. It's a timing hell coordination thing. It's 4 minutes long. You've got to deal with this for a long time. 290 BPM is going to be brutal for that.
Yeah, absolutely. This map is just completely like this is the sort of flavor pattern you're going to get for the entire 4 minutes. There's barely any breaks. It just keeps going. It's kind of like a lot of the old timing hell charts by Juan Crystal that also kind of went that sort of way as well.
Yeah, we see a little bit of we've been getting a little taste of kind of the expectation here with the slower sections at the start. We got a little bit of a middle section there where the intensity spiked really high, and we saw where the density of this is going to start leading us to as we get into the transition into the first chorus here. Only a third of the way through this chart, like I said, 4 minutes, as expected from a timing hell, but that density starts to get pushed higher, and the full brunt of that 145 BPM jack structure alongside the staggered releases is really going to start hitting you here.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're definitely getting a lot of these sorts of staggers here, especially in the chorus. It definitely feels really, really tricky to hit, and it doesn't let that. It just completely like. We're getting sort of like a break, kind of guitar solo. Sorry, not a break, but
well, now there's a break.
Yeah, this is a break for sure. Yeah.
Only lasts a few seconds, and then gets back into what we saw from the earlier sections. Still slower, but gets that jack motion back in play as we get back into a little bit of more, an even slower section, but trying to transition back into another chorus, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, it just... These patterns are just completely, like, they're really, really tricky, and being able to sort of go through all these for 4 minutes is just, like, it's absurd. And we're seeing that we can see the combo there from the replay on the side from the left there. 8,133 notes. that is a full combo on this chart. That's 8,000 notes. That's like 4,000 LNs total, and that's like a ridiculous amount for this kind of chart. 290 BPM LN coordination. It's just absolutely absurd. We got this guitar solo right here. Really, really tricky. The trills and the long jacks. It really just completely, like, it throws everything at you.
Yeah, the other side of that, you mentioned the 8,000 combo, and I think it's worth noting that when a map has that many long notes and that high of a combo, misses become less relevant than accuracy.
Oh, absolutely.
And that becomes really important, especially on a coordination pick like this, where releases are extremely important to get right. 7.2 is going to help you a little bit, make it a little bit more straightforward to keep good accuracy on it, but still, with the staggered releases, accuracy is going to be difficult to handle. But if you can handle getting accuracy on that, it will benefit you a lot more than trying to full combo something like this.
Absolutely. You really have to focus on that accuracy aspect. And only then should you want to even attempt the full combo on this, because it is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like a balancing act almost.
Yeah.
You can't miss too many times, but you should want good accuracy on something like this.
Absolutely. And yeah, that was LN1. That was our coordination pick. LN2, as you might have expected, is density. Is going to be around 253 BPM. This is going to be Saigetsu Takehirote French core remixed by Yuist and Chryslerly.
The classic Yuist density map, joined by Crystal, like you said. 253, very fast, a little faster than last year's, I believe. Not too much faster than last year's density. So we're in a little bit of comfortable ground. But, like you said, Saigetsu, Koko, and Satsuki got Tenkamori. Classic Toho, 7.19 stars, and I don't think there's a huge amount of details that go into this. It's your classic density pick, largely based around that jump stream structure, only about 2 minutes long, so getting a little bit of break from that length, but as that's pretty much what you'd expect from a density pick like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can honestly feel the separation of the matters in this way. You can tell it's the Chryslerly part because of the way that it is patterned. The way that the tricky aspect of the density maps that you expect from Campanella and previous Chryslerly maps of the past, as well as Yui's sort of vocal, the way that Yui's does shaping in vocals with their density patterns. It really all comes together in this pick, I think.
Yeah, each mapper's mark is clearly there, I think, is the point. And you get a little bit of that difficulty.
You feel it while
you get the really difficult density patterns that Yui's likes to cook up, and Chris Arlene, despite it being the density pick with Chris Arlene, still having that kind of that difficulty with some of the more coordination-based density patterns that they like to put into their maps.
Yeah, absolutely. Really just feel like that split drill right there is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, no playing around when it comes to this. And the split drill at 253 BPM still requires a little bit of physicality. Not going to take anyone who can't deal with that despite being an LM pick, still requires a lot of focus and a lot of speed. And another map where that combo quite high, not as high as LM1 obviously, but still 5,000 combo, nothing to shake at.
Yeah, and this is, this is a really, physical LN pick. Probably our most physical LN pick, actually. I'm not sure about that.
No, I don't, that's wrong.
Now that I just said that, you just reminded me of LN3, which is even more physical than LN2 somehow, with 260 BPM, and the patterns are not super straightforward density. They're just you go ahead and introduce it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of density. The patterns are just a little bit awkward. It's a little lighter than your normal density pick, but it's faster. Like you said, 260 BPM. There's going to be a lot more focused on the speed aspect of it, and also includes more than just kind of jump stream speed. It has a section specifically in the center, in the middle of this map, where the bursts and LN burst coordination is going to be extremely important.
Yeah, that is definitely the part that I have in my mind right now. Seeing these patterns in front of me, I'm like, but that section though, later on, right here.
It starts right here. Yeah, bursts start coming up. You got a couple of jacks as well, 130 BPM jacks, all fully inverse, a little bit off center as well, so a little bit flammy. And in the middle of those bursts, you also have a couple of implied mini jacks, and that makes the coordination a little bit more difficult. You get the joining of some of that jump stream back with those bursts through this section, and just mixing everything together. Really make sure that your physicality is where it needs to be for this long note pick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything to add here. Like, this map is just really, really difficult, honestly. Like especially with the physicality. For a LN wildcard pick, like you don't normally, like, I guess you kind of, a high BPM LN is definitely something that you do see in, like, at least recently, like with Fatal Entanglement, Kisaragi, etc. But like, I mean, this is like ridiculous. I mean, like that burst right there, like it's just like completely, like the angers and everything. This is just so much split trills. Like, wow, like this map is absolutely absurd. Honestly.
Yeah, something worth noting too is that ending jump stream section is non-stop. It's not broken at all, unlike the first half. So it kind of adds another layer of density and difficulty and speed that's needed there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that was just, it's really, really ridiculous, this chart. And I mean, yeah, LN3, we can move on to LN4. This is going to be September by me and Alexire. This is 1.15 BPM 184. The chart doesn't really start until like maybe like a quarter of the way through, so just sit back and relax and listen to the song. It was yesterday for some of you, but it is today for me and for the people in the US. September 21st. Happy September 21st.
It's still September 21st for me. It's 9 p.m.
Yeah,
It's just about 3 hours before it ends, so gotta celebrate there. A remix of the song, of course, but get a little bit of an opening section. We saw some early LN bursts like we saw right there, but nothing too difficult yet, so it gets a little bit of build-up before we start getting into the really difficult patterns here.
Yeah, and here we're building up into the shield patterns that we're going to be seeing for pretty much the rest of the map, save sort of long break sections later on. But, I mean, yeah, this is pretty much what you get.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of just shows you what it's made of once it starts and doesn't stop. It just keeps this kind of structure going a lot. Has those shield patterns while holding down an LN on the same hand, and that's where I think a lot of the difficulty is going to start coming from, needing to coordinate mini jack and shield patterns on the same hand as another LN that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that pretty much encapsulates the main difficulty of this, honestly. Like, it really goes to show. Here was the break section I was talking about earlier, and I mean, you really just you gotta anticipate the second half, because the second half, it goes on for twice as long, maybe longer, than what we had just now. And here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2/3 of the way through the map and only halfway through the score, so I think you can expect this ending to go off pretty hard.
Yeah, right here, we're seeing it right here. 184, it is slightly higher BPM than Digital Kachak, which from last year, which was similar in style. But I would say the patterns are maybe a little bit easier. It's hard to say, we have mixed feelings about that. But yeah, these shield patterns are... It's not just shields, of course. We got some bursts and like trills embedded in there as well. Some 3-note gas as well.
Yeah, just a very, very technical long note pick, I think.
For
Certainly
sure.
the most technical LN pick that we have.
Yeah,
get a little bit of a cool down to finish off the chart.
Yeah, the cooldown takes a little while though, for sure.
But as the cooldown comes to a close, finish off with a couple shields and the burst. That'll finish off our long note pool, and we just have one more map left to showcase.
Yeah, and that would be the tiebreaker, but I mean, it's rather unfortunate to say we don't have the tiebreaker. I'm sorry.
I can't believe this.
I'm so sorry. I must turn my head in shame.
Yeah. For shame.
全ては幻だ。どうして届かないの？少し私の何が足りなかったの？あなたはその光にたどり着くことを最初から許されていなかった。でも私はだった。ずっと歩き続けた。そこにぬくもりがあるってそう信じていたから。確かにあなたは歩き続けた。だが何のために？名前すら知らぬ光のためにか？何も約束してくれなかったぬくもりのためにか？私はただ生きているって感じたかっただけ。一瞬だけでも。それこそが最も残酷な嘘なのだ。あなたは生きてなどいなかった。何も残されていないこの世界で忘れられたものなど何も残らない。この世界に属する者も覚えている者もいない。これこそが最も明確な真実。その星はあなたのためのものではなかったのだ。
Yeah, and that was Raphael. I honestly don't have any words. I have no words. I mean, Raphael, Once Forgotten, Nothing Remains. We did see the credits earlier, but I'll just read them off again, just so everyone gets the credit they deserve. Creameries, Minerva Rin, Envyu, and Hero for illustrations. Zeth and Panthulu for graphic design. Kuroi's, Binary, Copperteen, and Himada for storyboard. Sugosugi and Dai for video. Red CXCA, Panthulu, Len Lichu, and Nafi for design quality assurance. And Sakura06 for video and design coordination. Huge shout outs to them. Huge shout outs to Raphael for the song. And of course, huge shout outs to the mappers. The mappers were me, Guden, Alexire, Darkstar, Toph, Rick, aka Recon, Mysterion, and Fola. It's an 8-mapper lineup for this one. Only fitting for a 10-minute song, basically a 10-minute song. I mean, what else really is there to say?
Yeah, I mean, and I said it, it's an experience for sure. 10 minutes long, something, certainly I think the players are going to enjoy that. Maybe not the difficulty of it, but well, we'll come back to that. It's just a really brutal tiebreaker, really fitting way to close out the map pools for this tournament, I think.
Absolutely. And I'll get this and Hybrid 1 uploaded shortly so you guys can go and check it out. But, I mean, before we close the stream, I have prepared a special announcement. I'm sorry I'm laying this on you guys kind of without kind of an announcement beforehand, but let me just quickly read off of this. I've been a map selector for Oceania 4K World Cup since 2019. I've been given many amazing opportunities over the years, and I've had the absolute privilege to be able to work with some of the brightest and most engaging minds of the community through working on these map pools. Leading the team since 2022 has felt like such an honor. Being able to simultaneously streamline workflows and cultivate creativity has been among my proudest achievements in this game. And with that, I must formally announce that I am stepping down from my position as lead map selector for MWC4K effective 2026. As follows, I will relinquish a plurality of my responsibilities which will be distributed among many of the current team, particularly but not limited to Guden, Alexei, Mysterion, and Recon. I will still be helping out, mostly to ensure a smooth workflow transition into 2027 and beyond, so I won't be going anywhere just yet. As a team, we will continue to make MWC4K better and better behind the scenes. Before I fully retire from map selection, there's still a few more things I wish to accomplish, which will be announced in due time. Please stay tuned and please look forward to a new age of MWC4K. Thank you. And with that being said, is there any last words, Tom?
No, I don't really have anything left to say. That was an incredible Grand Finals map pool. Thank you for the work that you've done for these map pools, and I hope we continue to see the success that we have over the last few years. But
yeah, and couldn't have done it without all of you guys, all your support, and yeah, really grateful for the community and everyone, honestly. So yeah, thank you.
But one way or another, that is going to finish off our map pool. Like I said, a fitting way to finish off our map pools this year with Once Forgotten Nothing Remains. And with that, we can close out our finals weekend and get prepared for what is undoubtedly going to be an extremely exciting Grand Finals weekend. We've got South Korea versus China to start us off, and the winner of that will go on to face the United States for a chance at that number one spot, trying to kick the United States off of their throne. You will not want to miss it. We will see you guys next weekend for the finale of the Oceania 4K World Cup 2025.
Yeah, and thank you all so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you for the Grand Finals Showcase. Be sure to buy banners and stuff. Alright, see you. Bye-bye.
全ては幻だ。どうして届かないの？少し私の何が足りなかったの？あなたは たは歩き続けた。だが何のために？名前すら知らぬ光のためにか？何も約束してくれなかったぬくもりのためにか？私はただ生きているって感じたかっただけ。一瞬だけでも。それこそが最も残酷な嘘なのだ。あなたは生きてなどいなかった。何も残されていないこの世界で忘れられたものには何も残らない。この世界に属する者も覚えている者もいない。これこそが最も明確な真実。その星はあなたのためのものではなかったのだ。